They laughed at me the first time I walked into that house, not out loud, not the kind that echoes, just the quiet kind, the kind people think doesn't count. The side eye, the half smile, the way conversations paused when I passed like I was furniture that suddenly learned how to walk. I was the girl who cleaned, too quietly, spoke too softly, and apparently didn't exist enough to matter. And honestly, at the time I believed them. Because when you grow up being overlooked, you start thinking invisibility is safety. You know what I mean? The night everything changed didn't feel dramatic at first. No thunder, no music swelling in the background. Just a woman dying slowly in a hospital bed and everyone pretending they were in control. Mrs. Holloway, the matriarch of the family I worked for, had been unconscious for days. Machines breathed for her. Doctors whispered in corners. Her son, Ethan, paced like a trapped animal. His wife, Marla, kept adjusting her hair and asking questions that weren't really questions, more like reminders that she was important. And me, I stood by the wall holding a tray, watching life slip out of someone's body, one shallow breath at a time. I'd seen those signs before. The way the chest struggles, the eyes twitch, the body goes heavy like it's sinking inward. My grandmother used to say, "When a body is drowning from the inside, don't wait for permission to throw a rope." She raised me in a place where hospitals were far and help came from hands that remembered what books forgot. I wasn't supposed to remember that in a place like this. Rich people don't like reminders that knowledge can come from dirt roads and old women with calloused fingers. When the doctor finally said, "There's nothing more we can do," something in me snapped. Not loudly, quietly. The dangerous kind of quiet. I stepped forward with a crushed leaf I'd found behind the hospital garden, a plant I recognized the way you recognize an old song. I squeezed it just one drop and touched it to Mrs. Holloway's lips. That's when Marla screamed. "Are you insane?" she shouted, grabbing my wrist like I was holding a weapon. The doctor froze. Ethan's mouth fell open. And then Mrs. Holloway's fingers moved. Just a twitch, barely there. But enough. She inhaled on her own. Weak, shaky, but real. She whispered, "I can breathe." The room went silent in a way I'll never forget. The kind of silence that rearranges your life. The doctor kept saying it wasn't possible. Marla called me a witch. Ethan just stared at his mother like she'd risen from the dead. And Mrs. Holloway, she turned her tired eyes toward me and said, "Bring her closer." That should have been the end of it. A miracle. Some tears may be a quiet thank you, but miracles don't land softly in houses built on power and fear. They crack foundations. After that night, things shifted. Mrs. Holloway started asking for me, asking about my past, learning I was an orphan raised by my grandmother working jobs people didn't see because I didn't have choices. Only survival. She listened. Really listened. And then, while machines still beeped and nurses hovered, she told Ethan she didn't want me going back to the tiny room behind the kitchen when she got home. She wanted him to make me family. Marla smiled, but her eyes hardened. And that's when I learned something important. Fear doesn't always look angry. Sometimes it looks polite. The next morning, the hospital called Ethan back into the room. Lab results didn't match. Samples had been swapped. The word poison floated into the air like smoke. Everyone felt it. Even me. Especially me. Because suddenly the miracle had a shadow, and shadows always look for someone small to stand on. Back at the house, the marble floors gleamed like nothing bad had ever happened. Staff lined up, smiles everywhere. Then Marla's necklace went missing. Gold. Expensive. Loud. She screamed my name like it was already proven. They searched my bag. Nothing. Her room. Nothing. The accusation hung there unfinished, and that night someone came into my room while I pretended to sleep. I saw the shadow, saw the gold catch the moonlight, felt my chest freeze as the necklace was shoved into my bag. When I opened my eyes, it was Marla standing there bare-faced, calm, cruel. "Don't scream," she whispered. "If you do, they'll ask questions. And I don't think you want that." She told me in the morning they'd search again, and this time they'd find what they were looking for. I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I remembered my grandmother's voice. Truth doesn't fear light. So, I did the hardest thing I've ever done. I didn't touch the bag. I walked downstairs with it in my hands and placed it on the table myself. When they opened it and the necklace spilled out, the room exploded. Marla screamed. Ethan froze. And Mrs. Holloway stayed silent, which somehow was the loudest thing in the room. When I told her Marla came into my room, Marla called me a liar, until Mrs. Holloway asked for the security footage. There it was, Marla's walk, Marla's scarf, Marla at midnight. She broke down after that, said she was scared, said she felt replaced, said I made her invisible. And then she said the thing that made Ethan step back like he'd been hit. She didn't poison Mrs. Holloway, but when the doctors didn't know what was wrong, she didn't stop it either. Yeah, that happened. They asked her to leave, quietly. No police, just consequences. I thought it was over. I was wrong. An envelope arrived. Inside was an old photo of my grandmother and a message in red ink. Ask who really caused the death. My past had been dragged into the open like a crime scene. Media followed. Headlines screamed. Rich woman saved by illegal remedy Maid with dangerous past. People love tearing down what doesn't fit their comfort. Then an old man from my village showed up. Told the truth no one wanted. The man my grandmother was blamed for had already been poisoned by powerful people trying to steal his land. She slowed it. She tried. But poverty makes a perfect scapegoat. The inspector confirmed it. The real poisoner confessed. Everything unraveled. Mrs. Holloway spoke publicly. Said she was alive because someone acted when fear stayed quiet. Said poverty is often treated like guilt. The noise changed after that. People listened. Weeks later, I sat at the dining table filling out school forms. Not as a maid, not as a miracle. Just as someone allowed to exist fully. Ethan gave me a simple silver necklace, not replacing anything he said, just marking a beginning. Marla is gone for now, getting help, facing herself. I don't know what happens next, but I know this. I was never weak, I was just unseen, and sometimes the person everyone laughs at is the only one brave enough to act when it matters. So let me ask you something. If you were there, would you have spoken up? Would you trust knowledge that didn't come from a title? Would you stand by truth when it costs you comfort? Tell me what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this story if it hit you somewhere real, and if you've ever been underestimated, yeah, this one's for you.